Okay, so in this video, I'm going to teach you exactly how to do a handstand. I'm going to go over a few ways to progress into a handstand and getting comfortable being upside down, and then also how to walk and those things and hand placement, as well as if you do have a handstand or if you get to that point where you get a handstand, what you can do after that in order to advance into different other things. So before we get into it, I'm not a gymnast or anything like that, so I'm not really able to teach you exactly everything that they would be able to teach, but I have learned a lot over the years, and so I'm just going to transfer that knowledge over and see if it helps you get into getting that handstand. Alright, so let's get into how to do a handstand. First, we're going to get into the couple progressions that you can do. So for the first one, you're basically just going to step and kick your feet up a little bit. So you're just going to learn which foot to step with, and then also hand placement on the ground, and just getting comfortable doing that step and kick up. It doesn't have to be much or anything like that. And so what it looks like is whatever leg is dominant. So I kick with my right leg, so I'm going to use my right leg to step with. That leg's going to step first. I'm going to place my hands on the ground. I typically have my hands more out to the side this way rather than up. Alright, some people prefer it differently, but I prefer it this way, and I think it's a little bit better having your hands placed out. So whenever you do it, you're going to step, place your hands out on the ground right here, and then you're going to use this leg to push off, and then this leg is going to go up first, this leg is going to follow, and then your dominant leg is going to come back and touch the ground first whenever you come back down. So we want to focus on going up gracefully and also coming down gracefully, alright? So we don't want to try and go up and then bring both feet down and slam them on the ground. We want to try and come down gracefully as much as possible. So I'm going to step. My right leg should be the last one to leave, but the first one to touch back down whenever I come back down. So what that looks like, step, come up, and then come back down, alright? And that's just the first progression, and as you get more and more comfortable doing that, you'll then be able to step and kick up more and more until you finally get into that handstand and being upside down. So that's kind of how you'll do that progression as far as like stepping and getting into the handstand. And then once you're up there, there's a few different key points that we want to try and focus on once you get to that point. But before we get to that, let's look at a couple things to feel more comfortable being upside down. So if you're not comfortable even being upside down, then there's no reason for you to even start trying to kick up and trying to get upside down. So first we need to start being able to be comfortable. So one tactic you can use is the wall. So whenever you use the wall, two different ways you can do it. One is a wall walk. So you'll walk up the wall, alright? So what that looks like is you'll be on the ground here, and then you'll walk your feet, and you'll go until you feel comfortable, and you'll walk your hands as close as you can. If you can, you want to get all the way to the wall, alright? If not, you'll just go as far as you can, and then you'll come back down. So that's one way of doing it. You want to try and get up all the way to the wall, but kind of progress more and more each time. And then once you get up there, you would then just hold yourself up. And whenever we hold ourselves up, we still want to focus on our hands, and I want to focus on pushing myself away from the ground. Alright? So whenever I get up there, I don't want to have saggy shoulders or anything like that. I want to actively use my shoulders and lats, push myself away, and then hold that position. I also want to have my feet and everything together, and toes on the wall. So I want to have my legs and everything together, toes on the wall, and try to keep a real tight body. So what that looks like if I were to walk all the way up is this right here. And then I'll walk back down. So we want to be active and engaged the whole time we're up here. Now if you get to that point, a couple things you can do from there is you can kick up the opposite way and look towards the opposite direction than what I just did. Or you can get up there and push yourself a little bit away from the wall to try and get in that little uneven stability type whenever you're up there. So that'll kind of help you understand once you get up into the handstand, holding yourself and moving and doing your hands and all those things is once you get up to that wall, push your feet away from the wall a little bit, not too much, and then come back to the wall. And you can practice doing that each and every single time. So that's whenever you get trying to get comfortable into being upside down. So that's a huge challenge for a lot of people, is just getting comfortable being upside down. Once you get into that, you can then start kicking up and do those kick-ups until you start getting more and more up into a handstand. Remember, your dominant leg leaves the ground last, but touches the ground first. We want to be graceful whenever we kick up and come back down. So once we start getting comfortable being upside down, that's the next progression. And then you'll kick up each and every time to get farther and farther. And then once you get to that full handstand, now what you want to focus on is, again, keeping your legs together, pointing your toes, keeping that active, engaged core, and also pushing away from the ground. And then that way you'll just stay real active and nothing will mess up at that point. So if I were to get into a handstand, I want to make sure that everything is in as straight as line as I can. Again, I'm not a perfect gymnast or anything like that, so I'm going to do the best I can to try and stay in that position. But just getting up there, pushing yourself and staying actively engaged, that's the main focus once you get to that handstand. So what it looks like, so that right there. So I want to try and push myself away, stay active, and ideally you want to be able to look the opposite direction, all right? So we don't want to look at the floor for the most part. I tend to do that once I start to walk and stuff, but ideally we want to look the opposite direction. So I want to have, just if I were to stand like this way, this is how I want to be upside down. So pretend there's a floor where my hands are, I want to be having my head and spine neutral that way. All right, so if I get into the handstand, my back is facing that way, I want my head and everything else facing the opposite direction. But that's whenever you get up into a handstand. So once you get up there, we want to try and hold ourselves up, push ourselves away from the ground. Our hands go outside, feet, toes stay together, and then I want to try and stay in that position. All right. If you get to that point and you want to progress farther, then you can progress into walking. So how we're going to walk is I need to get my hips to go in front of my head and shoulders. All right. So whenever I get to the handstand, my hips need to be in front of me. My legs still stay together and straight as much as possible, but now my hips need to move forward in order for me to move my whole body forward. So whenever I get to there, still the same basic concept of everything else. Now I just need to get my hips to go in front. So what that looks like, so my hips come in front, and then that will allow me to start walking. What I would suggest doing to begin with on the walk is take small steps with your hands. So try not to take big, huge, long steps with your hands. Take small ones. Try to progress into getting bigger and bigger until you feel more comfortable basically walking on your hands. So once you get into the handstand, in order to move forward, your hips need to be in front of your head and shoulders. That way it will kind of use momentum to go and force you to go a little bit further. Now don't go too far to where you flip. All right, that's another thing, is people coming out of the handstand, they are also afraid of that, is flipping, slamming on their head, slamming on their back, and those things. So kick up and then try to get to a point where you're in one line. So rather than kicking up and pushing yourself away here, you're only going to get so far. Eventually you're going to have to kick up and be on one line straight up. Alright, so we don't want to push ourselves away and back. I want to be pushing myself away from the ground and up. Alright, that's going to be how I'm going to progress into walking. Now, to get out of the handstand, ideally we want to come back down gracefully. We don't want to slam down on our back or on our head or anything like that. That's what a lot of people are afraid of doing whenever they get into that handstand, so it's understandable. So that's why I'm saying take small steps. First, try and just get yourself into that full upside down in one line, and then get your hips a little bit in front of you and take those small steps before taking bigger steps. All right? So those are kind of a few things to do to progress into getting into a handstand. What you can do is just do that step, kick up, come back down, and work on getting higher and higher. Also, just get comfortable, use a wall or something like that. Walk yourself up, be comfortable upside down, and then you can start progressing into that kick. The next thing is if you have a handstand, what to do next. So if you have one and you can walk forward, well, what I suggest try and do is then walk backwards. All right, so if you can walk forward a certain way, then walk backwards. Or you can then progress into walking sideways, one side to the other side. You can progress into walking into around cones and those types of things, because you ideally want to be comfortable on your hands as you are on your feet in a way. All right, so whenever I start walking, I can walk forward. So if I kick up and then backwards and then turn. So I can turn, walk forward, backwards, sideways, serpentine, all those different things, weaving in and out, all that kind of stuff. I'll try and make a video on different types of advanced walks and those types of things of me just showing you what to do and also giving you pointers and tips and stuff like that. But those would be kind of the advanced things that you can do once you get to a handstand and once you feel comfortable going forward. Then start working on different things where turning all the way around. I know it's called a pirouette and stuff like that. But one key point before this video, or before we end this, is breathing. So once you get to a handstand, it's kind of hard to breathe, or you don't really think about it. You should be comfortable breathing upside down. So that would be a thing to also focus on while you get up into a handstand, is breathe. Remember to breathe. That's what I always tell myself, is once I'm in that handstand, remember to breathe, because then you can only go so far if you're not breathing. So I think I walk across gyms and those things on my hands, and if I don't breathe, I won't make it. But whenever I remember to breathe, it's actually pretty easy to make it. You should be almost comfortable enough on your hands as you are on your feet. So just kind of recap on everything we went over today. I know it's kind of a short video. I can go more in depth if you want on a few different things, maybe more progressions or something like that to help you with. But just to kind of touch on it, use the wall to progress yourself into getting comfortable upside down and on your hands. So walk yourself up to whatever you can, and then try to push yourself to go farther and farther each time, and then hold yourself upside down on the wall. Once you get to that point, push yourself slightly away from the wall, not too much, that way you don't fall down, and then come back to the wall. All right, so you're going to push yourself away and then come back, and that will get you that stability and learning how to control yourself that way. Once you get to this, once you master that, I would then suggest going into the kick-ups. All right, so kick up with your dominant leg, work on getting comfortable being all the way up. So progress into getting all the way up, and once you get to there, you'll then be ready to take baby steps and get your hips in front of your head and shoulders in order to move forward. After that, then work on trying to do forward, backwards, sideways, all those different advanced moves with the handstand. But key things while you're in the handstand is, one, engage your core, actively engage everything in your body, core, legs, hams, glutes, quads, calves, toes. It goes from head to toe on what you're engaging. Push yourself away. Also have your hands more out rather than facing forward. That enables you to walk a little bit better. And then also keep your legs together and point your toes. So just to kind of show you from a different point of view, because I know I've been going sideways, but my feet and everything, I want to so you should be able to see my toes and legs and everything together. That way I stay real tight, and it's easier for me to control my body, because gymnastics is about body control and body movement. So that's kind of just a recap and everything you need to know, kind of the basics of how to do a handstand and how to progress into getting into a handstand. Again, if you want to know a little bit more in depth on a couple things, more progressions or advanced moves or something like that, be sure to comment down below. And Also, be sure to subscribe and like and share if you have not done that already. And that's it for the day.